The Indianapolis Colts are 3-1 after a Week 7 loss to the Tennessee Titans, and in a lot of ways, their season is over. They lost 19-10 to the Titans and were swept for the second consecutive year. Whether the quarterback was Wentz or Ryan, the result has been the same, and that's been underwhelming. The Colts roster has some very bright spots and has some of the best players in the NFL, but they have not been able to put it together, and when they do put it together, it's either not enough against the best of the best, or it's simply above average. And being consistently below average, flat out average, or above average in the Colts case are some of the worst positions to be in the NFL. And that's where the Colts have been for longer than they would like to admit. And because of this, they have over the course of time become a mess. And in today's video, we are going to break down why they are a mess, how they can get out of this, and what the steps are moving forward. And there is a lot to dive into in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. The biggest thing with the Colts over the past few years has been the quarterback position. They have had a lot of success at other positions, but quarterback has been a revolving door for them since Andrew Luck retired, and it is time to completely commit to a new quarterback that they can grow and build around for a decade. If this quarterback does not work out, then it is what it is. Quarterbacks, like every other position in the first round of the NFL draft, will have their fair share of draft busts. But trading and hoping for a veteran, either that was yesterday's news in Carson Wentz, or a 37-year-old Matt Ryan who is very much not the player he was in his prime, are not the long-term answers. And as I was recording this, it was announced Matt Ryan will be benched for the remainder of the season for Sam Ehlinger, who will make his first career start in Week 8 against Washington, and that Nick Foles will be the backup. I didn't start making this video before this was announced, but it adds to the Colts of being one big, gigantic mess. Matt Ryan was traded for a third-round pick, and what's crazy is, at the time, the general perception was the Colts underpaid severely for Ryan, yet here we are not even in November, and it's looking like the Falcons won the trade in a landslide. Technically, the Falcons are tied atop the NFC South, and while I do expect that to change, anytime a franchise can get a third-round pick for a player who will go on to start just 7 games is a huge win. And given where the Falcons are as a franchise, this third-round pick will very much come in handy. But Matt Ryan wasn't good this season when he played, and at this point, Frank Reich is very much coaching for his job. The NFL is a what have you done for me lately league, and Reich's only postseason win in his career came back in 2018 over the Deshaun Watson-led Houston Texans. They were beat by 3 scores in Kansas City the following week, and since 2018, they made the postseason once, which occurred in 2020 when they lost in Buffalo in the wild card round. They infamously lost in Week 18 of 2021 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who beat them, which caused Indy to miss out on the postseason. I do think with Sam Ehlinger, now starting for the Colts, that this is the sign of Reich's job and his tenure coming to a close in Indy, because there are no more excuses, and I get the hand he was dealt wasn't the best, and that not all hands coaches are dealt are equal, but the Colts front office has to be fed up with a singular playoff win since 2015, which, to be clear, goes before the Reich era. But under Frank Reich, I think the Colts are most known for a catastrophic collapse in Jacksonville. And in the ensuing game they played in Jacksonville this year, which was back in Week 2 by the way, they were shut out 24-0, and Matt Ryan threw for no touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Yes, Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce were both out this game, but to lose by 24 points to your division rival, who has had back-to-back number 1 overall picks by the way, is embarrassing. Period. To be somewhat fair to Matt Ryan, not everything was or is his fault as to why the Colts have started 3-1 and ultimately what led to him getting benched. He is injured at the moment, but the intent with Sam Ehlinger was, quote, to start him the rest of the season, end quote. Ryan has been sacked 24 times in 7 games, and there were 3 games out of those 7 where he was sacked 5 or more times, And whether it's Matt Ryan or Colts legend Peyton Manning, you're not going to be successful on a consistent basis if you are on pace to get sacked 58 times a year, much less at age 37. His arm is also nowhere close to where it was, and the ducks he throws show up on tape regularly. But offensive lineman Matt Pryor has not been good this year, and Colts fans know that's putting it mildly. He allowed 9 pressures in the win over Denver a few weeks ago, yes, that game, and allowed 5 in each of the last 2 games against the Jags and Titans. Pryor also has the 3rd lowest passing grade among any tackle with a 38.5 on the season, and what's especially bad for Indy is they've had to move him around the offensive line. And it's not like Pryor is an elite run blocker either, as he ranks 70th out of 75 tackles with his run blocking grade, so if you're wondering why Jonathan Taylor is having a down year relative to the year he had in 2021, it is in some parts, though not exclusively, due to Matt Pryor. Pryor in 2021 had a grade on PFF of over 30 points higher than what he currently has as a bottom 2 offensive lineman, and Taylor averaging over a yard less per carry shows this. And one last stat regarding Pryor and why the Colts have struggled is, on the season, Matt has logged 324 passing snaps and has allowed 28 pressures over the course of the season. Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith, and Ryan Kelly have cumulatively logged 992 passing snaps and combined have allowed 29 pressures through the first 7 games. And if you were wondering, yes, Pryor's 28 pressures allowed is the most of any offensive lineman in the entire NFL. Not just tackles, but any offensive lineman in the league. If there's a part of you thinking Indy is 3-1 and they should go for a postseason push because they're not completely out of it, let's review those wins. Their first win came back in Week 3 against the Chiefs, and yes, believe it or not, this team did in fact beat the big bad Kansas City Chiefs. We've discussed this on the channel a few times, but within that game, the Chiefs more or less beat themselves than the Colts truly won this game. And there's a difference, as we saw KC put up 44 points against San Francisco in Week 7, and Patrick Mahomes threw for over 400 yards, and they had one of their best games they'll have all year. But against Indy, Mahomes threw a singular touchdown pass, which was the lowest he's had in any game all year. The Chiefs muffed a punt, which set Indy up with the ball inside their 10-yard line. KC missed a field goal, and Indy won the turnover battle and held the ball for over 33.5 minutes to the Chiefs' 26.5. This was also the game where we saw the video go viral on Twitter of Mahomes and offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy argue before halftime. The second win came in Denver, and we all watched that game, and that was one of the ugliest wins a team could ever have, and that was also a game where Matt Ryan threw 2 interceptions and was sacked 6 times, and the Colts went 4 of 16 on 3rd down, and somehow, someway, came out with a 12-9 win. And last but not least was their win over the Jags, in which they beat a team who has had back-to-back number 1 overall picks at home with a score of 34-27. Indy has more than 20 points in just one game this year, and I don't think there's any game they play where you can confidently say they are going to win this game. And that's honestly a shame because the defense, all things considered, has played well. They've given up an average of 20 points per game, and with the offense Indy has and the playmakers they have, it's not unreasonable over the course of a 60-minute game to expect the Colts offense to reach 20 points. And you also have to factor in for Indy's defense how much they are put at a disadvantage because of the offense. The offense has 14 turnovers on the year, which ranks 3rd most in the league, and that inevitably sets the defense up to give up points when they turn the ball over. To be clear, I'm not saying the defense is perfect, because it's not, but they do a good job, and this is a defense that, if they had a competent offense, could win a playoff game or 2 if the seeding bounced in their favor, meaning if they had to go to Kansas City or Buffalo in the playoffs. Well, there's not a lot of teams that can beat those teams in those stadiums, period. But the point of the defense playing good stands. The turnovers or lack of they create is something Colts fans have a right to be annoyed with. but they have been missing the heart and soul of their defense in Darius Leonard for all but 16 defensive snaps against the Titans. And in 2021, Darius had 4 interceptions and 8 forced fumbles alone. So missing that great of a defensive player will impact the defense in a big way. Not to mention how much of a leader Darius is in the locker room as well. The good news within all of this for the Colts is if Sam Ehlinger works out, then you have a franchise quarterback and a young franchise quarterback for the first time since Andrew Luck. If he predictably does not work out, then you draft one in the first round next year, even trading up if you have to. The worst thing Indy could do this offseason is trade whatever it would cost for Aaron Rodgers or another veteran quarterback, Rodgers was just used as an example here, and continue the weight of finding a long-term solution at the quarterback position. Carson Wentz didn't work, Matt Ryan didn't work, and now it's time. And within this, the Colts may have both a new GM and a new head coach. But that young quarterback will have Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and hopefully Jelani Woods at tight end as well to work with. And that's a lot more than some other current young quarterbacks around the NFL have to work with. And here's to hoping it all works out. That's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel as it would mean the world. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.